Hey, welcome back. This is Miguel.
And Michelle.
And in case you haven't noticed, we're going to be talking about something Disney related. And we just can't seem to have enough Disney toys, right? Just throw them around. But anywho, we're going to talk about specifically about a recent trip that we had to Disney World in its 50th anniversary celebration. So what exactly is that, and what's with all the golden statues?
Walt Disney World is celebrating their 50th anniversary, and that just means we're celebrating the birthday of Walt Disney World. For 50 years old, it looks pretty good, looking that good at age 50.
In honor of celebrating 50 years of the Walt Disney Parks, there's a couple of new things that came out in honor of that celebration. What are some of these new things that we should pay attention to?
Since Disney loves to do a bunch of celebratory things, so that means new additions of attractions, rides, merchandise, food, even their fireworks. They're introducing new firework performances, so that's something that we got to experience, and it's really cool to see it in person.
Food.
And food.
And food.
Speaking of, didn't you buy
Yeah, so it goes without saying, chocolate. I have to watch my diet, but as a chocolate lover, I love that they have this 50th celebration edition chocolate bar with Pop Rocks in its fireworks flavor. It's really funny because our uncle who was with us, I gave him a sample, and he thought there was something wrong with his teeth. Like he feels like these crackling in the back, and I let him know like it's something to worry about. It's actually the Pop Rocks in a chocolate.
It's not an allergic reaction, we promise. But it was really nice, the wrapping. It was a really big bar. How did you even eat that? I couldn't even eat like a piece of it without freaking out because it was so weird.
There were no sections. It's just one big block, like a brick of chocolate.
We actually visited Walt Disney World early of this year of January 2022. Oh my gosh. And it was like right after New Year's, so we were kind of usually visiting Disney World. The best time to go, or off season, quote unquote, is like during January, leading up to February, just because like there's usually a lot of people going back to school, to work, and there is like the marathon, but I mean like that's the only like thing that gets people going there, like that gets crowded. But other than that, it's honestly the best time to go. But because Disney World is celebrating the 50th anniversary, there is no really an off season, so there's large crowd of people visiting the park, and
everywhere we go.
We definitely got in the midst of that, but we were okay. We did pretty well. As artists, we definitely noticed a lot of things while visiting the parks, and just seeing all the new decorations, all the food and the performances, and then getting to ride the new rides that were opening up last year and into this year. So we're gonna talk a little bit about what we experienced. Let's get to that.
Yeah. Especially, I mean, not just my favorite rides, which happens to be the Haunted Mansion and Flight of Passage, but also additionally there was the Ratatouille ride and the Mickey and Minnie Railroad track ride. And these are basically updated versions of the trackless rides. It's usually, I was going to say suspended, but I believe the only suspended ride was the Peter Pan flight, but most rides are typically on a track or in water. But these new rides are completely trackless, so you could see the jump in advanced technology in engineering these rides, which was pretty amazing and very creative, and we just thought it was worth it.
The new rides that Miguel mentioned, Remy's Ratatouille, it just came out, I believe, towards the end of last year or early this year. And then Minnie and Mickey's Railroad Train Track. I should know this.
I forgot the name. It's something to do with Mickey and Minnie.
It was basically we're on a train, and the Remy and Ratatouille ride, you're like a mouse. So it's kind of cool that you're sort of immersed into this experience. So these rides came out between last year and this year, and it's really cool because I think it's really fitting for the celebration of the 50th anniversary, especially with Mickey and Minnie, like a ride dedicated to them. I don't recall any other ride except Goofy's Barnstormer, or a ride that actually features like Mickey and Minnie.
It's been a very long time since they had a ride dedicated specifically to original Disney, well, they're all original, to specifically these iconic Disney characters like Mickey, Minnie, Goofy, Donald, Daisy, and so on. And not only that, but they were the old school version of the Disney characters, like black and white, I believe so. Yeah, it was like retrograded like this version of Mickey.
So basically, the Minnie and Mickey Railroad Ride is based on the new cartoon version of, like, It's an
yes.
yeah, you wouldn't know this because you don't watch the new cartoon version.
A little bit. I just remembered.
It pays homage to the
yeah.
old-fashioned toon design, and so it's really, I actually like it. Not everyone else agrees with it, but I actually like the design. It pays tribute to that kind of style. So so when you're in the ride, it's very like a lot. I rode it like twice, even though it's like not a long waiting line, like 45 minutes. You're on a train, and Mickey and Minnie are supposed to go on this lunch picnic, but like just things happen, so you're just like, oh, I don't know what is that, but it's almost a little overstimulated. Like there was so many things happening.
There was a lot happening.
Yeah.
That's what made it amazing, actually, because there's always something to look at, and you're going to miss a few things, which makes it worth going again so that you're able to enjoy again. And it's one of those rides where it doesn't follow exactly the same way. Like, there'll be times when different buggies, I guess I would call them, or train buggies, would separate in different sections. So you might experience something slightly different each time. So that's also another thing, too, that I like.
That's just one of the newer things, but it's not a direct correlation to the 50th anniversary of Disney World, but each park, Magic Kingdom, Animal Kingdom, Epcot, and Disney Hollywood Studios, they each have something new. For example, Animal Kingdom had the Disney kite tails, and it's like, it's supposed to be these kites shaped as like the characters from Lion King. We have not actually seen it, to be honest, because we actually read articles how it wasn't really that good, but I would like to see it really for the first time if I go back to Animal Kingdom. But it was just one of the newer things that they added to Animal Kingdom. And in Magic Kingdom, they did a new fireworks performance at the end of the day or at night. So that's also different. And the same thing in Epcot, they have updated their fireworks performance as well. So not exactly many new rides, but each park has something new to offer for everybody. Aside from that, there is what we notice as artists, this color theme that's all around the parks. Would you care to explain what that is?
Oh yeah, for those who are uninitiated about the tradition of anniversary colors, gold is the standard color that symbolizes 50 or 50 human years. For example, it is ruby for 10, silver for 25, gold for 50, and then diamond or platinum for 75. Now, specifically relating to Disney, each park not only has these gold statues that you can find, which are well made, by the way, of different Disney characters, there is a second color code for each of the park. I don't remember exactly which belong to which, but there is blue, purple, red, and I completely forgot the fourth one. There's also that too, and you can recognize them when you go to the stores or see the statues or you see random banners flying around. So that's also a color code that they use to celebrate 50 and at the same time correlates to the park that you are in.
A complement to gold is blue, right? So there's actually a lot of blue and gold combinations. And they also have this other color theme called iridescence, you know, like iridescence. So iridescence is also part of the color theme. I actually love that color pair. I don't mind buying a lot of merch with that color, as you might take a look at some of our merchandise haul that we may have bought. One of the first things that's noticeable when you do enter each park is that they each are having their own little like light show at the end. So for example, Magic Kingdom will have a light show on the castle, Epcot will have a light show on the Spaceship Earth ball, Animal Kingdom will have a light show on the big tree, and then Disney Hollywood Studios is at the China Theater. Each of them, supposedly it's called Beacons of Magic, so they like light up towards the end of the day or something, and it's like full of colors. And then one of the most nice looking light shows is possibly one at Epcot. And that's because at Epcot, they actually put light fixtures on the building itself, so there was more room to play around with lighting and stuff versus the other parks where it's more of like projection lighting. The most iconic thing that you could see in terms of celebrating the 50th anniversary of Disney World is going to Magic Kingdom and basically seeing the Cinderella Castle all decked out. Like, it's got the ribbons, it's got the pink and blues and gold. And actually, the cool thing about that castle is that it is based on, obviously, the Cinderella's castle, but also the concept art made by Mary Blair is on display there on one of the columns, or one of the little like columns fixtures on the side that you could see, and it displays the concept art of Mary Blair, who was basically a Disney artist back in like the 50s. So that was kind of like a nerd thing for us to kind of see that on display. That's obviously where I think a lot of the people who decorated the castle made their reference based on. So it was really beautiful. I think the castle looks nice, and it's got this big round circle thingy and the 50 on it, so it's just perfect. So yeah, I liked it a lot.
They made it like the 50th anniversary theme was well immersed into the park itself, as opposed to just having a banner saying Happy 50 and then that is it. They actually implement it and make it part of the park as if it's always been there. And I think that's part of the genius of their Imagineering design work and the artists.
The other thing that we really liked about what was being celebrated at Disney is obviously the food. So there was a lot of desserts that were themed around 50th anniversary celebration. I basically took an opportunity to go to every place where we ate and see if they had a 50th celebration dessert. And we got a couple of them. They usually have like these really good chocolate looking 50th gold coins, or they just deck it out. It's like really nice. We'll have pictures here and you'll see what I'm talking about. It's more show than like tell. So
it's really worth, even if it's your first time, because there's, just like the parks themselves, it takes more than just a day to even celebrate and enjoy the 50th anniversary thematic elements of the park. There's just so many. Of course, the rides are kind of separate from that, but in terms of the food and merch, it's definitely worth it. To think of it, it's kind of sad that the chocolates are going to be gone after a year, because that's limited edition.
So that's like a very clever thing that Disney does, is they don't just put out all the merch. It's actually throughout 18 months that we are celebrating the 50th anniversary, is that they put out merchandise like along every other like month or so. And then some will go or some will stay. And so it makes you keep on your toes. Like, oh my gosh, I'm missing this out. Like,
yeah, nice incentive, nice marketing.
So one of my obviously more fun thing to do while we were at the parks is actually finding the gold statues that were placed all around the parks. And they are 50 statues representing 50 characters from all Disney films. Not all, but obviously the animated ones.
Yeah,
so
a lot.
It's kind of cool that we were kind of going on a scavenger hunt and actually we only maybe found like 30 of them out of 50. And it's like half of them I didn't even notice until like someone would point it out to me, our dad. Or I actively figure out where it is, but I still could not find some other ones.
Yeah, especially if they're small, because they're not just like in assembly of like the standard size. They're actually made to look as if that's the actual size of the character. So for example, Toy Story, you had Woody and Bo Peep, and they're like this small, like about maybe this big. So they may be harder to find versus like Frozone from The Incredibles, which is almost a human scale, like almost 6 feet. So he'd be easy to point out. So that's the nice touch to that.
So we actually want to talk a little bit more about the golden statues, so that will be in another video. So stick around for that.
Yeah.
And to kind of wrap this up, I personally really like how everything is celebratory in regards to the 50 years of Walt Disney World. I mean, imagine that, like that is a pretty long time. And so comparing to what we've experienced, because we basically go to Disney World every year, we save up a lot of money every time, but it's still worth it. And we usually go like in a seasonal Christmas, New Year's, just because like obviously
you want to avoid the heat, but also people.
Yeah, there was one year we went we did twice going into summer, and like I'm good. I'd rather like be shivering than like sweating. How do you feel about the 50th celebration?
Well, like I said, it's worth it. For me personally, it's the food and the merch. If you're not that materialistic, you can at least experience the golden statues. It's very I think the golden statues is worth it overall, no matter who you are, because they're well made and they're well scattered. There's a lot of them and they vary in size, and it's all different characters from Pixar to purely Disney.
Well, we hope that this was a really good introduction of our Disney themed videos. And as artists, we love to kind of just talk about our experience with Disney, because Disney is obviously like the big thing in combining like art, science, math, the Imagineers. Like, that's a goal in life.
Well, we hope you enjoy this video. We'll be talking more about these Disney related stuff on the theme of 50 years, 50th anniversary celebration, and we'll see you next time.